The print, 19th of February 2024, How can India get back on track in the Maldives? The Great Game in Delhi is an event that is keeping China out. India must significantly improve her game if she hopes to repel China, which is launching a full-scale conflict against the Indian subcontinent. Any longer a conversation goes on over India's strategic policy, the more likely it is that the dragon will show up. A discussion about the relationship between India and the Maldives at the India International Center on February 9, 2024, turned into one about China's influence in the island nation. Beijing was dragged into the conversation by the crowd, who questioned Mohamed Muizzu, the president of the Maldives, about his nation's silence on China's persecution of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. They also recommended that New Delhi cooperate with Islamic countries to reclaim its footing in the Maldives. Frank Rausen Pereira, the founder of the digital knowledge platform Verita First and a consultant anchor with Doordarshan, spoke to a small but attentive group of about 30 people about the maritime situation in the Indian Ocean and India's strategic approach to its relationship with the Maldives. The audience included students, former civil servants, and business people. The first topic of conversation was Muizzu's policies against India, particularly his plans to remove the 77 Indian military personnel stationed on the island nation. Since winning office on the platform of his India Out campaign, Muizzu has turned to Beijing for assistance. The discussion's moderator, former Indian ambassador to Qatar KP Fabian, emphasized that a formula addressing the presence of Indian troops could have been provided right once following Muizzu's election. Is the primary distinction religion? In between the Maldives and India, Islam was brought to the Indian subcontinent to drive a wedge amongst members of the same ethnic group. This tactic of divide and rule has been successfully implemented there. Before thoughts on China and India's divergent positions in the Indian Ocean began to flow, the conversation covered the anti-Indian activities in the Maldives and issues of religious diversity. Muslims make up the majority of the island archipelago. One audience member questioned, could the large Islamic population in the Maldives be a reason for the anti-Indian sentiment? Which caused the others to start thinking aloud. Could India leverage its good relationships with Islamic nations such as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or Indonesia to regain its influence in Maldives? Said one outspoken commenter. Fabian and Pereira concurred that the concept has potential. Pereira said, developing cooperative projects in the Maldives with a third country, an Islamic country, like Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, or even a country like Sri Lanka would be a worthwhile step in rebuilding ties. He said that while India had not succeeded in finishing infrastructure projects in the island nation, such a step may facilitate Delhi's activities in the area. Overall, the conversation had nearly turned into a scene out of 19th-century Russia and England, elites debating the Great Game, in which two nations compete for dominance in an area. Pakistan was established as a component of the big game for this reason. The two speakers strongly opposed India's stance on Muizzu's impeachment and potentiality. According to Fabian, India should not adopt the policy of regime change. Speaking about the reasons behind the global silence over China's actions in Xinjiang, Pereira clarified that Beijing's diplomatic clout has grown to the point where it muzzles Muslim countries into remaining silent. He attributes this effect to the massive trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, dubbed the project of the century because it envisions new trade routes connecting Beijing with the rest of the world. China's high-profile India Out campaign, which is being supported in Bangladesh and the Maldives as part of its India policy. According to an audience member who worked in the tourism industry and resided in the Maldives, viewing the India Out politics as a rivalry between Beijing and Delhi would be inaccurate. The issue stemmed from the disagreements between previous presidents, Mohammad Nasheed, and Ibrahim Solih. The audience member remarked, India Out was considerably stronger in 2011 to 2012. That did not, however, prevent the discussion from again deviating into the distinctions between the Indian and Chinese approaches to Mali. India conducts its foreign policy in an honorable manner. Conversely, China guarantees that people always get what they desire from a nation, Pereira stated. When the print asked about Delhi's significant expenditures in the Maldives during the Solih years and whether there was any benefit to them, Fabian remarked, checkbook diplomacy is better than gunboat diplomacy.